השרת מלאכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא בואכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We're glad to have you folks who are here with us, surrounded by each of you surrounding the heaters like we're out for a campfire, as well as the folks who are watching online. I'm sure that you appreciate, as we do, the wonderful quality of our production. The sound and the light is amazing, and we hope that you appreciate what it looks like and what it feels like. I watched last week and I was just amazed at the quality of the music. It was beautiful. So it's been a long week. Shabbat brings us together, allows us to reconnect, to celebrate, to sing, to pray, to reflect on what we've learned, reflect on what will be in the next week. That's what it's all about. And so we invite you to join with us to let go of the week that's past and embrace the week that's ahead as we sing, as we light our candles, which are on page 1 if you have a prayer book. I'd like to invite Jerry and Lori to come forward, please, if you would.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 20, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrot kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likrot kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad yishme'onu Elohim yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'letiferet v'nitira Lecha Dodi likrot kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likrot kala b'nei Shabbat lekabela. Likrot Shabbat lechu v'necho ki mikor ha'eracha mirosh mikerev nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavot techilo
and be seated. Psalm 92 is among the psalms that are recited leading us up to the service, the body of the service, which is the Shabbat, the traditional Shabbat service. There's a note at the bottom of page 22 that mentions it was sung by the Levites in the temple, making it over 2,000 years old. The rabbis come along and they read into it, meaning that perhaps wasn't even intended by its original authors, that it's a vision of a world to come when every day is Shabbat, and that's why they said they included it in the service. What it captures is really the essence of what keeps religion alive. We take these ancient texts written at a different time, in a different context, for a different purpose, and repurpose them and reinterpret them and bring them into our own context with meaning. So as you read these words, you read the Hebrew, the English at the bottom, you needn't be constrained even by the rabbinic interpretation. Allow the poetry to move you and inspire you as we enjoy the music.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. On this the day of days, my lips shall sing your praise, for I know that you'll always be here surrounding me. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. My spirit takes release. I close my eyes in peace, and from my soul, heard far above, springs a song of love. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. I wish to understand the wonders of your hand, for all the blessings that are mine rise from your design. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon.
And in fact, those words written by Rabbi Ken Chasen are his own interpretation of the Hebrew and the meaning of the English.
Just so.
We continue on page 28 with the Baruch Hu. Please rise.
Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai.
page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. The Shema is on the next page.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
You can be seated.
I just have to share, every Thursday, Rabbi Stern and Rabbi Woznicka and I lead services for the 5th and 6th graders at 8 in the morning, and you can probably imagine some of them are still half asleep, and the other half are bouncing off the walls, and they're just so excited. All of them are so excited to be back on our campus, but there's one moment in the service where they all focus, they all have kavanah, they all have intention in their prayer, and that's during the Shema. They all know every single word. They put the shin on their forehead, or they close their eyes, or they put their hands on their hearts, and it's truly the most beautiful, beautiful moment to see how deeply they connect with our tradition. So I just had to share that because I was thinking about that in my own kavanah of prayer tonight.
Via Haftarah on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And Cantor, we introduced the Mi Khamokha with them on Thursday morning with the kids, and we said, why do we still sing this song? It's thousands of years old. It's about something that happened or was told about thousands of years ago. And the message that I wanted to give them, and it's so important that our young kids don't become cynics, that they see themselves as agents who are capable of change, that the Mi Khamokha is about optimism. It's about hope. It's about faith. It's about the belief that seas can part and you can cross through deserts and you can go from slavery to freedom. And so every time we sing it, it is an affirmation of the faith that we can have and what the world can yet be. It's on page 40.
Mi Khamokha b'elim Adonai, Mi Khamokha nedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot, O Seifele, Norah tehilot, O Seifele, Malechutecha ra'u fanecha, Bokei hayom livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 42.
השקיפנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו שומרנו לחיים. השקיפנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. השקיפנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו שומרנו לחיים.
Hashkivenu is a prayer that asks for peace, that we go to sleep and sleep through the dark night and wake up to light renewed. We know that there are folks who are still facing dark nights of illness, of pain, of suffering, and so we offer a prayer of well-being, of healing, the Misha Berach. If someone near to you is sick, hold them in your heart. If you're lucky and fortunate not to have someone close to you who you know who's sick, then think of perhaps just those who are in this planet, on this world with us, who are in need of the healing presence of loved ones and faith and strength. Page 253.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu makor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
The Amidah begins on page 46 with an intentional meditation of sorts. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, svatai tiftach, ufi yagit tehilatecha. Perhaps you start there, perhaps you end there as well, letting those words repeat in your mouth. Or if you'd like, you can continue through the prayer, which continues on page 48 through to page 62. It's called the Amidah. We say it standing, amod in Hebrew. So please, la'amod, as they say in school. And take a few moments for your own personal prayer. When you're finished, you may be seated. time to end the Amidah. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
May the one who makes peace in the heavens descend on us, and the world will say, Amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens descend on us, and the world will say, Amen.
You know, I had a dream that we sang harmony. And then I woke up. That was beautiful. But you're singing, not mine. So I want to add to the long list of biblical laws that you might never have heard of. No pressure, but raise your hand if you know what shmitah is. Good? Cantorial school? Okay. Promise this was a law you had not heard of. So here's the way it works generally with Torah. We choose our biblical favorites. So when we speak about Torah values, we usually mean the laws we like. And often, and I make this point to my classes all the time, we leave out the laws conveniently that are morally disturbing or inconvenient. And what it just basically shows us is the Torah is a complicated book. So shmitah is one of those complicated laws. It's the sabbatical year. It's what gives rise to the whole notion of a sabbatical for academics. And the Torah, as the Torah describes it, fields are to lay fallow on the 7th year of the 7-year cycle. Now, in a world where we can get strawberries in December and greenhouses can grow marijuana all year round, we're not sensitive to the challenges that climate and the changing of the seasons presents. But in the ancient world, to let the fields go fallow in the 7th year meant there would actually be 2 years without a harvest, because you'd have to plant in the next year and wait for the produce to grow. And so for a subsistence farmer, like the Torah's first audiences, 2 years without a harvest, well, that's practically an impossibility. And so the Torah implausibly promises that on the 6th year, the harvest would be so bountiful that there would be enough food to last for 2 years. So complicated was this law that it's actually not even known if it was ever observed. But it continues, obviously, to exist in principle because it's in the book. And in fact, we're in a shmitah year right now, which is why I'm talking about it. And it's actually observed by some traditional kibbutzim in Israel, which means that they don't plant their fields, but there are other kibbutzim, and Israel even imports fruit, and those folks will eat imported fruit. But the law, the shmitah, is filled with challenges and questions, and the values that it puts before us are profound. And the fact that we take it up and we embrace it and we engage it and we question it and we wrestle with it is what makes the Torah holy, I would say, is that we continue to take up its ideas even when they're inconvenient or difficult, and we wrestle with the values that are presented with those by those values in our own lives. So I want to start with the most basic component of the shmitah, which is what I'm going to call the law of sevens. 7 is a very significant number in the Bible. 7 days of creation, 7 days in a week. The 7th day is the sacred day, Shabbat. 7 days for the holiday of Passover, 7 days for Sukkot. Rosh Hashanah falls in the 7th month. Shavuot happens 7 weeks times 7 days of 7 weeks after Passover begins. So Shavuot, the feast of weeks, is all about sevens. So we can't understate the power of 7 in the text. So that the Shemitah year is the sabbatical, is the 7th year, is sort of the crowning jewel on top of all those sevens. So the 7th year then obviously is not just about good farming practice. One could wait 5 years and allow fields to go fallow. You could wait 3 and allow them to go fallow. There are all kinds of different ways to do it. It's really about 7. It's about Shabbat, and it's about the Shabbat year. So it reflects a value and a principle. That's why it's 7. And it speaks about our relationship to the land, to the earth, and I'm going to suggest even our obligation to future generations. So here in this sabbatical year, there's a summit going on in Glasgow, Scotland, as you know, about the dangerously changing climate. And unfortunately, it's going to end without meaningful international action. And the issues raised by that sabbatical, that Shemitah year in ancient practice, actually give us some inspiration to double down on our collective efforts in the face of the inaction out of the Glasgow summit. Because if we don't prepare to mitigate and react to climate change, we know we're going to be in trouble. So a few Shemitah values to give a sense of how these two things get together. It first appears in the book of Exodus. If you want to look it up, chapter 23, it's worth reading because I'm just going to go through it quickly. So after a series of laws listing the values and the principles for a just society, laws like how the rich shouldn't be favored in disputes, nor should the poor, about how people shouldn't accept bribes, you shouldn't bribe judges, about not taking advantage of the needy, about the obligations to protect the stranger, the Torah then goes right into, in the same paragraph, sow your land for 6 years, let it rest on the 7th day. So clearly, given that order, given that structure, Shemitah is about a societal justice that the authors built into the law. It implies that the land, on some level, is deserving of justice almost as much as humans are, because it's in the same paragraph. And that to work the land to exhaustion, as it were, is almost as bad as abusing another human being by denying them justice. And at the risk of sounding like a druid or appropriating Native American ideas, it's as if the land itself has a soul that needs to be nurtured, just like our fellow human beings. Interestingly, in researching around the material for this talk, I came upon something called the Great Law of the Iroquois. And it's the 7th generation principle. Amazing that Native Americans in this country picked up on 7 generations, just like Jews picked up on 7 in the Torah. So it states that in every deliberation, says the law of the Iroquois, we must consider the impact of our decisions on the 7th generation. If a generation is 40 years, that means that we have to think about our actions' impacts 280 years into the future. So let's consider then that the land, the soul of the land, as the life it gives to us, or that we take, let's consider the soul of the land as the life that it gives to us, or could take from us if we don't take care of it, reaching into subsequent generations. So the Shemitah year that the Torah talks about then is part of a series of laws establishing principles for societal justice. That shouldn't be lost on us. There's a modern equivalent to that. We call it environmental justice. And it captures the notion that the poor are disproportionately affected by degradation of the environment, because they're more likely to live in areas where land and water and air are hazardous to health. Heat waves are far worse in poorer neighborhoods. It's less hot in Beverly Hills than it is in East LA. It's less hot in Encino than it is in Van Nuys when the temperature rises. And it's exactly those places where it's often prohibitively expensive to run air conditioners for these folks. So we turn our air conditioner up without thinking. They hesitate to turn theirs on. Low-lying regions around the globe are getting hit pretty hard by rising oceans. Bangladesh, islands in the South Pacific, even areas in this country are at risk, mostly occupied by poor. The same is true of droughts. Reduced rainfall is causing population shifts in Africa. We know how it's making California burn. So yeah, climate change is going to affect the poor far more dramatically than the wealthy. We can purchase our way out of it in some ways. But we're learning that we can't escape it all, as the floods in Europe and around this country in the Northeast have proven. So the Torah's concern with the land and its linkage through the law of sevens to creation, to Shabbat, to holidays, makes it clear that our stewardship of this planet is a deeply Jewish principle. Because at our core, we're an agricultural people. You wouldn't know it by how many Jewish farmers there are in this country, but we are. Because all of the holidays were originally associated with the cycles of the harvest and the seasons. And while the Torah's authors could never imagine a human population capable of changing or transforming the weather, we can, because we're living it. So we can't let the immensity of this threat and the many decade-long vision required to understand its impact blind us to the need to address it today, now, in our lifetimes. We can't let the failures of the world's leaders at Glasgow close the door on action. It's not enough, unfortunately, to put solar panels on our roof, but good for you if you've done it. It's not enough to drive an electric vehicle, good for you if you're planning on it. It's not enough to recycle our plastics. Unfortunately, the city isn't even doing that. But our change has to be global, it has to be profound, it has to be international, and it's not going to be cheap. But if we look 280 years into the future, we have to do it. Because the alternative is a world that will threaten the well-being of our children and our children's 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 children all the way down. It's the law of sevens again. And so taking a page from that Iroquois wisdom, we've got to gaze into the seventh generation and make decisions that ensure not just our own well-being, but the well-being of people we will never meet, but who may or may not read about the legacy that we've left them. Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may it be. Prayer is aspirational. When we say these words, a cynic would say the world's not the way it should be. It's not as described in these prayers. But prayers remind us that we have to work to make it happen. So as we say prayers for the United States and for Israel, we recognize that neither nation is perfect, but nonetheless our faith and our hope, they will always be moving in that direction reflected by the prayers. Page 258. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion and help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit, as we say, Amen.
Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, V'arei
Hashemayim, protector and redeemer of Israel. Bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield them beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say, Amen.
Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Gomalo. Amen. Salah. Amen. Salah.
Do you know the good news coming out of Israel? First time in 3 years, they passed a budget.
That's right. I saw
Yasher
that
Koach
today.
to the government.
And there was a great New York Times article about that we clergy were circulating about an HUC letter. I won't go into it, but what was really beautiful was that our Bat Bait, Alana Rabashaw, who's a fifth-year HUC student, was featured in the article. So you should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
She had some excellent points
Yeah.
to make. We're very proud of her. So we're going to continue with Kiddush. We're going to ask the
Yeah, it
Shargani
needs to come
family
forward.
to come up. Tomorrow, there's so much going on campus. We have Tat Shabbat, we have a Bat Mitzvah, we have a Bar Mitzvah in the morning. It's really a magical thing to see this place so alive. And I know that Rabbi Yoshi's not here because he's running the New York Marathon, and we wish him and Jacqueline and Nomi great luck in doing that. But it's become his sort of tradition to share whatever national day it is as we make Kiddush. So I'll share B'Shem Umro in his name. It's this one I love because I'm married to a ginger. It's National Love Red Hair Day. So to all my gingers out there, God love you. And this is very important. Even though it's a month early, we don't have Sufganiyot yet, but it's National Donut Day. So I think in the Valley, we have some of the best donuts in the world, right? On every corner.
Documentary about Cambodian donut shops.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So please join us as we make Kiddush on page 5.
Please
and
rise.
Mazel Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ava v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techilo lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letzion mitzrayim kivanu v'harta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava v'ratzon hinchatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashavat l'chaim.
We forgot to ask about simchas that people are celebrating. Because I mentioned it only because I know Jerry's having a birthday. I know Lana's having, this Lana, not Lana, Lana, which makes it really complicated. It's having a bat mitzvah. Any other smachot that people are recognizing or observing? Anybody birthday, anniversary? My son's best friend just had he and his wife had a daughter, which is exciting. That's for us, it's great news. Okay, good enough. Great to celebrate. Sharganis, thank you so much. We continue with the Aleinu on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
scholar, Deborah Lipstadt, said that Jews can go from oi to joy in an instant. And perhaps it's because of what's written into our prayer book. We go from talking about celebrations, from lifting our cup with kiddush to the Kaddish. And that the two words are closely associated is, of course, significant. Both mean holy. The sanctity of joy, the sanctity of memory, the sanctity of life, the sanctity of death as well. That when we have those who are close to us and we lose them, we recognize the preciousness of the legacy they've left us. So take a moment, if you will, if you are observing the yahrzeit of a loved one, to think of the gift you've been given by their life as we recite the Kaddish together. Zichronam levracha, may the memories of your loved ones be a lasting blessing. It's on page 294, sorry. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. V'yama divrach ute v'yamlich machute b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'gala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'ytalal shemiru kudusha b'richu. Le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'miran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to Israel, and all the world, as we all say. Amen. Cantor, there's the last page. Adon Olam. It's on the other side.
I'm so excited. This is my favorite setting of Adon Olam.
321. Sing nice and loud.
Okay,
Enjoy.
It's the French Sephardi tradition, so I know you're going to love it.
Oh.
Okay. Page 321. Sing with me, please. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'en Nasa V'chefetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yiyeh V'tifara Ve'hu Yiyeh V'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Leham Shilo Lehachbira Ve'li Reshit Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'am Yisra Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'am Yisra Ve'hu Ve'li Ve'chai Goali Ve'tzur Chepli Ve'et Zara Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Ve'nat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Ve'nat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Ve'yado Afki Ruchi Ve'et Ishan Ve'aira Ve'im Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Andre and Tyler and Roz and John. Thank you to everyone who made this service possible. And thank you for being here and for joining us. Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Cantor.